Empowering yourself through the matrix. Me, Ivo. Yesterday we did a channeling on how, after I left my parents' house, I was being reactive. I was spending money emotionally and buying myself loads of treats including a V8 Firebird. Yes, it was a nice car, purses, shoes, clothing, as a reaction to the way I was raised, but far cry from the way I spend today. I only spend money on Implant Communications, books, food, and bills, and I spend it wisely. For example, I saw how few were reading the newsletter I was sending around to 3,000 people. The returns weren't even worth the $80 I was spending every month for Chimp Monkey to store my database. It just wasn't being read much, so it wasn't worth spending the money on it and put it up on my website with highlights for a month or two. I stopped it. I won't waste money now, and I buy basically what I need and a few of my wants, having had times when I couldn't even meet my basic necessities in life without assistance. I guess I had a rethink and decided that I'd rather help other people meet theirs than go overboard buying for myself. I still have lots of the stuff I bought before which isn't even being used now. It's in storage. Yesterday, I did something I hardly ever do and rented They Live with Roddy Piper, where he gets his Roddy Piper glasses. I enjoyed the end of that movie, where he finds the device sending out the mind control messages, and he shoots it. Suddenly every being on Earth that's not human is revealed to those around them. I wish I could be the Roddy Piper in this movie. That's the thing with so much on this planet, you have to try to find the positive message when it's submerged in multiple scenes of violence and inhumanity. But it was there. Normally I don't watch movies at all. Ivo, you have changed. Your spending is less reactionary and has become more heart-centered. This is an expression of your soul. You have what you require and do not deprive yourself, but you do not overdo it either. You buy food on sale wherever you can, such as the coffee you got for half price, understanding that any savings is money you can donate to the food bank or to help others. Me, yes, I do. I use my intuition to guide me to sales as well, and it works. Now I want to talk more about the process involved. I get so many messages from people who say they appreciate our work. I know there are many of us who were raised in crazy toxic families like my own, and it's very difficult to know who you are and what you're doing when you're finally on your own and away from their influence, or at least their influence is limited. You feel completely unanchored. You will continue to attract people who remind you of your abusers because you hold the corresponding wound. We are electromagnetic beings, we send out energy and we attract similar energy to us. The more shadow work you do on your own, the fewer of these people you'll attract because you've already healed your wound. You can always take past situations, like I do for example, and learn from them. Anyone who tells you not to look at your past now, I believe, is misguided. There is a dearth of information about who you are in your past if you have the wisdom to see it now with new, more mature eyes. Some people can be spiritually advising you from their own ego and not even realizing it, so go with your inner guidance. If that situation from 1983 keeps sticking in your craw, get a pen and paper and write about it. Work on releasing and healing it. Write about your pain and let yourself have a good cry. You're healing your wounds. That's why you do shadow work on your own, otherwise you'll be fated to experiencing interactions with others where your wounds are pointed out to you. And it hurts. Believe me, it hurts. I would rather have a good cry writing about my past experiences than spend my time becoming angry at others because they are revealing my wounds to me. It's a question of whether you're willing to face yourself or not. For those of us who are of higher light, you will continue to attract people who are just nasty, who are attempting to take you back down to a level that makes you more manageable for the matrix. They want you to be an unhappy slave to the system. They want to keep your wounds open. Your past pain is the coal that will help reveal the diamond that is you. You have a choice: you can stay stuck and mired in pain, or you can use the pain to find who you have buried underneath, and that person is your higher self, your soul. Many don't believe it, but pain is transitory. It doesn't stay with you, it can be resolved. Pain is the stimulus that helps you to find your true self. Some choose to learn through the positive polarity. Remember that 3D is, well, I sarcastically call it bipolar, but 3D matrix is a dual unreality, which means there are positive and negative polarities. Some choose to learn through the positive polarity, and this is the loving side, not half as traumatic as what those who choose to learn through the negative polarity have to go through. When you choose to incarnate into the negative polarity, you often incarnate with parents like mine were, basically pretty crazy, who make no sense to anyone unless they fake it. When you're a positive ET soul coming here and incarnating into the negative polarity, you may lose yourself for a while, but you will gain yourself back if you're willing to do the work. Like I said, the more shadow work you do on your own, the less you're fated to experiencing painful interaction with others. Choosing to face your own pain, your pain body as some call it, is one of the bravest things you can do. For me, the idea that this is all wrong and I have known something better played with my head sometimes, and I went into denial, trying to tell myself that everything was fine and there were no problems. Other times my soul speaking to me, telling me I deserve better, encouraged me to do the work. Your ego is the one who prefers denial and suppression of emotions in order to feel good. Your soul wants you to be who you truly are, not some fake counterfeit you created in order to fit into this world. You can use every painful memory you have to find who you truly are, because you're buried under those memories. You can use every bad mood you're experiencing now to understand yourself at a deeper level. Every single one is telling you something about who you truly are, because who you are is hidden under the pain you're creating. It's a smokescreen. There is only one caveat: some of us are so sensitive that the only reaction we can have to seeing many of the low consciousness behaviors of others is to react in pain. You have to understand you have limits, and living in a world of people who believe almost anything goes is difficult. I won't be on social media anymore because of the habit many people have of attacking others who are message deliverers. They say don't shoot the messenger, but so many do it anyway because they haven't developed a more mature method of dealing with their anger. They are still immature. Rather than having all their negative energy fired at me for me to transmute, I prefer to work in the way I'm doing now. In the case of watching videos on YouTube, there are some I won't watch, and those are any videos where children or animals are suffering. I refuse to see this. I know it's going on, but why watch it if it's upsetting? I'm not keen on watching adults suffering either, but I believe that adults have more choices as to how they deal with it. Which is the point of this video. Are you suffering in any way, and if so, why? If you can't change the situation, then you have to change your reaction to it. And that doesn't mean that you continue to subject yourself to scary pathological people for any reason. Then you have to remove yourself. Ivo, this is a good summation, my love. Shall we go through another example? Me, sure. Oh. I know which part of my life he's going to pick. LOL. Ivo, your love life. You had no idea you were to go from a young woman who had a denying, psychopathic, oppressive, tyrannical, abusive father to the exact opposite, a loving extraterrestrial mate, in one lifetime. Me, I didn't, not while I was undergoing the process. What lessons did I have to learn along the way, Ivo? Ivo, initially, they were lessons of learning to defend yourself against attackers, and the one of your ex-brother-in-law trying to break in the house was a lesson for you as well. Me, yes, my sister's attacker. Ivo, you released another man who repeated, "I will not hit a woman," while standing in front of you in your apartment. This was a reptilian soul invasion. This man was fragmented between the dark and the light, and you booted him out of your life eventually. You do not realize, and perhaps many of you do not, that in dealing with what appears to be humans to you, you are battling a battle with the dark ones. Yes, they send them to you in order to oppress you, and when you take a stand for yourself and say, "No, I will not take any abuse from you," you are winning a battle for the light. You have us all standing behind you. Your choices afterwards were less threatening. Did you notice that? Me, more or less. Many of them still showed the same kinds of characteristics as my parents did, except for the violence. The worst of it was that some of them were like emotionless zombies. Ivo, and what does this say about you? Me, yes, that I was emotionally repressed as well. Ivo, you were. How do you think you got through a working day? If you had said everything that you were thinking, you would have been found unsuitable for the position and fired from the job. Me, would have been like going postal, really, because I had a lot of opinions about these places. Ivo, and you ended up becoming self-employed. This is another attempt to leave the matrix. As for men, the last one you were with, you were not even with him, it was a relationship carried on through texting and email. You had only seen him once. Me, what can I say? A hands-off relationship. Ivo, in order to go from your father to me, you had to overcome many hurdles. You had to overcome the need to attract abuse, and you did stand up to it. You had to learn how to be honest in relationships and stop listening to liars and manipulators. And you did this. In relationships, you had to overcome your need to curtail anyone getting to know you. You would use quick sexual interaction in order to stop any of these men from getting to know you because you realized that as soon as sex started, talking stopped. So you had used this to your advantage. Your last relationships, with the man from the 12-step group, was all talk and nothing else. You had allowed him to get to know you. As well as another one that I am pointing out to you. There was no sex even though he found you desirable, but a lot of talking. You had to overcome your addictions, which were being pointed out to you in the men you attracted, often alcoholics and drug addicts. You did this. Me, yes, I pulled myself out of the gutter, that's for sure. So you're pointing out the highlights of this all. I guess in between these major wins there was a lot of thinking going on and you were instructing me. Ivo, addiction is a need to express toxic shame, as you pointed out in a recent video. This toxic shame must be overcome and healed. While you were in the 12 steps, you developed a sense of self-worth and a sense of accomplishment. Try as your mother did to take this from you, she could not. She felt herself the only one accomplished of the two of you, and unless you took the inferior position, she could not feel worthy. Yes, codependent toxicity is always by comparison. One cannot feel worthy in and of oneself, it has to be by comparison to another whose esteem they abuse and diminish. You learned to stand on your own feet, and you ghosted your parents because you realized they still held the power to take it all away from you. You understood where you were still vulnerable. They had misused and abused your love of them, and there was no reconciliation at this point. Although many in the group do reconcile with toxic parents, you felt you could not. Me, the one thing about them is that it's so crazy. These people are crazy. You start getting flustered, frustrated, and confused. I see so many of us right now who are in the know walking away from those who insist on watching the news because they believe the craziest ideas and won't be budged from this. Ivo, yes. If you could listen to it all and have a normal discussion with them, that is one thing. But the truthers are trying to change those other people, and you realize that the more you try to change someone who is not ready, the more they will insist they are correct. They must change themselves. That is what makes them so frustrating. Growth is an internal process. The point of this video is that every soul can take what they have learned in the matrix and change themselves from that point. Everyone can. It is whether you wish to or not. All bad can be made good of. All negative can be changed to positive. All pain can be soothed to love. All of it. These things are all a continuum. The continuum can be traversed by a series of interactions in order to reach the other side. Or they can be traversed through the mental mind as well, with pen and paper or word processing software. It is all the same. Glean whatever you can through any exchange with another person. What are they showing you about yourself? Yes, in the past you did not have the full truth. Now you have a more correct version of the truth to do your shadow work with. You did not realize you were fighting the negative alien agenda. You did not realize that the aggressive men sent to you were evil reptiles in disguise. Me, oh. I knew they were some kind of evil. Ivo, you stood up for yourself, time and time again. Common sense eventually prevailed and you stood up for yourself. You dealt with the unsatisfactory relationships you had with men despite your fears that you were unlovable. In doing so, you learned it was self-love that was making you assert yourself all along. People fear they are not lovable. If you were not lovable, you would not be alive. Me, what about the DS? Are they lovable? Ivo, what I intend is that they are lovable by themselves. That the soul loves them. Many of them are soulless. Those who have so little soul contact they are almost off the matrix. I am referring to the normal human being, a light being on the soul matrix here. If you can love the DS for what they are doing now, you are very advanced. If you can see that everything they have done to this world will be the stimulus for positive future change on this planet, then you realize they are in fact lovable. Yes, there was an intervention, but your people are now going to learn the truth from the point this earth has degraded to now. And you can hate the DS for bringing you there, or you can love them for the goodness that is yet to come. It is your choice. It always was your choice. Love your enemies and you will have no enemies. Love the worst in others and you will have self-love. Physical manifestations of poor health notwithstanding, you can heal from all emotional pain. You can heal the body and the mind as well from the pain you have incurred. Release fear. That is all it takes. When your boundaries are fear-based, you will feel fear when you are around others. If they are love-based, then you are fine around others. You can have the same set of boundaries and depending on where your frequency is, you can experience them as fear or as love of self. It is your choice. Me, now I get where the duality comes from. Ivo, yes. It is an interesting level of consciousness. Me, thanks Ivo. Ivo, my love, beautiful day today. Perhaps a trip to the river would be appropriate. Me, yes, don't waste the sunshine. Thank you.